Greetings adventurers, I'm Lunor Gaming and I'll be your guild advisor for this video. It's that time of the DanMemo season. We have a new heroic trial, which means another bond for us to grind towards. This time, it's the Countess Seer bond. And a free assist bond is quite nice, since assists normally have lower drop rates than adventurers during the gacha, and they cost more doll to purchase as well. Countess Seer's main shtick is the effect that charges your special arts gauge faster. This only applies to the equipped character. So, whenever that adventurer is involved in combat, your special arts will charge faster, and you'll be able to use your special arts sooner. This is especially useful in some wargame teams whose strategy is to protect certain adventurers while the special arts bar fills up. So you can use your special arts before your opponent. This usually ends with several of your opponent's adventurers dying. If you don't have Countess Seer, this is still a worthwhile bond to get, in case you acquire her in the future. Otherwise, if you have her at +5, or don't think you'll use her at all, this is just an extra 10 dolb in your pocket. But back to the trial. If you're familiar with heroic trials, you recognize that there are 3 levels of difficulty for the trial quest. Completing normal rewards 1 hero fauna, completing hard rewards 2, and completing very hard rewards you with a feat, which is displayed in your profile, signifying that you did indeed clear this heroic trial on very hard. Personally, I'd rather the reward be 3 hero fauna, but I digress. I guess we need a JPEG trophy for bragging rights. Each completion of a quest rewards bond tokens, and you'll need to acquire 400 of these to exchange for the Countess Seer bond in the shop. Remember, there's only 1 bond in here, so don't grind more than 400 tokens. To unlock the trial quest, you'll need to use a challenge orb. You can of course use your free daily challenge orb for this and unlock the trial for 1 hour. Let's get into the fight itself. And of course, your opponent in this heroic trial will be Seer's co-worker, Lunor, who is level 4 adventurer by the way. I feel like I'm being seriously teased about my desire for a 4-star Lunor between the heroic trial and her involvement in the cat detective story. Episode review part 2 when? Anyway, taking a look at Lunor's stats, we can see that she resists physical attacks by 70% and magic damage is neutral. She also has a 20% weakness to all elements. Based off these stats, you definitely want to be bringing a magic focused team if you want to be doing any damage to her. She's immune to most ailments but is vulnerable to sleep, but I wouldn't really count on that because she'll wake up after you attack her anyway. Lunor uses physical attacks and can pack quite a punch if you are not well prepared. First off, she sports a single target physical attack that hits for a good amount by itself. Secondly, she has an AoE physical attack that you will need to watch out for when paired with her final skill. This final skill is a 100% strength buff that is active the turn she uses it and the following turn. If you are unable to take off this buff, lower her strength, or increase your defenses, you're going to have a bad time. Occasionally and most often on turn 4, she can use her AoE attack twice in a row. If this is paired with her strength buff, she will shred through your team. Thankfully, there are quite a few ways to counter this. Let's go over some recommended adventurers. First and foremost, any magic attacker that has single target attacks will be very effective against her, due to her elemental weaknesses. Some examples include the 3 powerhouse Lufias, Elven Awakening, Elf's Honor, and Offshore Elf. Elf's Honor and Offshore Elf will work the best due to their self-magic buffs, but if you have access to other water characters like Beach Saint Amid, then you'll want to use Offshore Elf. Remember, you'll only be able to use one of each character as an adventurer during this trial. No army of Lufias for you. 2 other notable magic attackers are Lovely Travel Lily, who has a very strong single target attack that lowers magic resistance, and Holy White Royal Reveria, who can buff your magic by 45% and decrease enemy light resistance. This works great when combined with Elven Awakening Lufia and Lovely Travel Lily, who both use light magic attacks. There are other viable magic attackers, but these are the main highlights. Now for adventurers who can debuff the enemy. The most obvious one is Gale Disguise Ryu. Because she is a magic user, he will deal extra damage to Lunor with her wind. She sports a 30% strength debuff that will last 4 turns. Even though she is a physical based unit, the new Anakiri or Aki has an even stronger debuff, being 35% rather than 30. If you're planning on using a water based team with Amid, who can amplify the water damage part of Aki's physical attacks, then she is definitely worth putting in the party. 4-star Kino and Tsubaki can also lower enemy strength, but it's only by 20%, and unlike Aki, their attacks are solely physical, so you won't be doing much damage. One great adventurer to pair with these debuffs is Summer Fun Lily, who is a strong water magic unit, especially great in water teams. Her strongest attack, Water Magic Sword, is able to extend the length of your strength debuff by 1 turn. She's always using this attack you'll only need to use your strength debuff one time and be able to focus on harder hitting attacks. You can also, of course, try to sneak in her magic resist debuff skill as well. For adventurers that can bolster up your defenses, there is Casino Lady Shakti, and even though she is physical, she brings a lot of useful buffs and debuffs to the table. She is also able to debuff enemy strength by 35%, but her main use will be for 35% guard rate and physical resistance buff. The physical resistance buff will decrease the amount of damage you receive tremendously, and any guards your unit successfully do will have incoming damage. Remember, if you're using a guard strategy, to equip breastplates with guard rate to your adventurers. Speaking of physical resistance, Bathroom Princess Eyes has a 40% physical resistance buff, perfect for lowering damage. Her other skill to reduce enemy magic resistance is also great for this fight. I mentioned earlier that Lunor's strength buff is the main thing you'll want to counter. Sure, reducing your strength with your own debuffs and increasing your physical resistance help a lot, but you can do one even better. Just remove the strength buff entirely. Twinkle Stream Tione has this ability along with a physical resistance buff. However, not everyone has this Tione, but a lot of you do have this next unit. Summer Princess Eyes actually has two skills that will take care of Lunar's strength buff. Aqua Blade will obviously do the trick because it plainly removes strength buffs, but Eyes' stronger move, Cobalt Edge, will also work because Lunar's buff will only last until the following turn after she uses it. This is also the move that Eyes will use on auto battle, so she's a great character to have in grind mode. Now for healers. Healer-wise, you have a pretty good amount of options. Beach Saint Ami blends perfectly well if you have a team with water units like Eyes, Lufia, Lily, or Aki, because of her water attack buff and resistance debuff. That 50% HP regen is also a nice perk. Almighty Fighter Osfi is always a strong choice with the 30% damage reduction skill and heal skill that also increases your counter rate. Photo is a stronger healer that can increase your guard rate if you're not using a Shakti for that purpose. And Fells has a 20% physical resistance buff. There are a lot of effective adventurers to choose from, but the main thing you want to focus on is counteracting Lunar's strength buff if you have a unit who can remove it. This makes clearing the trial on very hard much easier. As for assist characters, use Banquet Queen Freya to increase your magic, and either Banquet Attire Hermes or Trickster Loki to decrease enemy magic resistance. You can also take advantage of Midsummer Maiden Aina, who decreases enemy water resistance if you're using water characters. For decreasing damage intake, you can use Seaside Goddess Hestia, Paradise Mood Hestia, or Mighty Elephant Ganesha to decrease enemy strength. Artless Hephaestus can be used to increase your physical resistance, or Flamme Goddess Hestia, who can also increase your guard rate. White Dress Seer is also an option if you don't have access to the previous characters. And finally, if you aren't healing enough regularly, consider using Naza, Miak, Amid, or Bunny Goddess Hestia for HP regen. After clearing through the trial quest, you can just farm whatever difficulty you can manage to clear on auto battle. The token per stamina ratio is about the same for these quests, so having to resort to farming a lower difficulty when auto battling is no worry. Remember that Summer Princess Eyes will actually use the correct skill to remove the strength buff on auto battle, so that's something to consider when making your farming team. You have until September 6th to grind up these tokens for the bond, so there is quite some time for you to get to 400. No need to do it all in one day and waste your potatoes. Just don't get any more tokens than 400. Hopefully, those of you who are struggling with Lunar's high damage find this video useful and join with me in the campaign for Lunar to get a 4-star adventure unit. Seriously, it seems like the stars are aligning due to 3 of her co-workers being heavily featured during this big update. A story about Chloe and Anya and Seer with their own heroic trial. I can just smell a 4-star Lunar coming. I sincerely hope that's the case with an episode review part 2. If you found this video helpful or informative, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. To stay updated on what I'm doing, follow me on Twitter and join my Discord for any questions and discussion. Continue enjoying your time adventuring in Aurario and the dungeon. This is Lauren Gaming and I'm signing out.